How's it going, folks? This video I want to go over adding a leveling fleet to a Bridgeport milling machine. I guess the first question is, why would you want to do it? When you want to level, when you talk about leveling a machine, especially lathes and mills, what they're talking about is they're talking about taking a twist out of it. So I don't have perfectly flat concrete floors. I mean, I think if I even pushing this thing will rock. So what it means when it rocks is it's only contacting the concrete at 3 points on its base here. And when it's doing that, it can add a twist into the base, and that twist can come up and go into the ways. And it's not enough that you'll notice it. It's not going to bind up the machine, but it's enough that it will throw your parts off by a couple thousandths, that twist in the metal. Because this is a 1963 Series 1 with a 1 horsepower step pulley. It's a 42-inch table. And the way you're seeing it sit like this thing's probably north of 2,500 pounds. So, that much weight pushing down on that cast iron, it will get a bit of a warp in there. It will still work? Yes. Are there thousands of these mills sitting across the country right now that have not been leveled that can, rock back and forth like this and work just fine? Yes. But if you're wanting to learn how to make parts that are precise within a couple thousandths, you want to take out all those variables. So that's one of the main reasons for leveling it. Leveling is definitely more imperative that you do it to a lathe, because you have a long bed, and if that lathe isn't level, it can get a twist in it, and over that long bed you will get distortion in your parts a lot more pronounced than you will in a milling machine. So lathe leveling is more common than mill leveling. The biggest plus too with leveling its mill is I'm going to be bringing its handle up a couple inches. Because right now when it sits on the floor like this, I'm 5'6". If I'm down here like this, I'm kind of hunched over. I don't have a power feed here, so you do this for a couple hours and your back and your shoulder are going to get sore. Bring it up a couple inches, it's going to be in a more ergonomical position, more comfortable for me to run. I may be less fatigued. So, full disclosure, I already had installed the leveling feet and ran it, went through the whole process, and then took them off, so it's sitting back on the floor. That way I can do this video and show you the, what it's like leveling it, lifting it up, and I want to make it look like I know what I'm talking about too. So, safety concerns. This is 2,500 pounds of steel. It doesn't care about you. All it is just this big chunk of steel with gravity pulling down on it. And if you're not careful, this thing will fall and crush fingers, body parts, or kill you. Or all of the above. Every year there's a few people that get crushed by machinery, and it maims them or kills them. So when you're leveling one of these things and you're having to lift it up to set it on these feet, be smart about it. Use common sense. There's an old adage that says, lift an inch, crib an inch. So what that means is if I have a jack or a pry bar or whatever I'm using to pick this machine up, if I lift it up 1 inch, I put cribbing under it, whether that be wood, 2x4s, something to when I drop it, it's only going to come down an inch. So I never want to have this thing lifted more than an inch in air without cribbing underneath of it. Just a safety practice, so if something does fail on some of your lifting equipment, that it will not come crashing down on you. A lot of weight up and down, right? It has a pretty small footprint, so this thing can tip side to side fairly easily. Probably not as much forward and backwards, but if you have this thing up a couple inches and the lifting point fails and it tips to one side, this thing very easily can fall over. So be mindful of what you're doing. And also realize that you're watching a video by a guy who does home hobby machining in a 2-car garage. I'm not a professional. And if you're thinking about doing this, think about getting a forklift. Think about renting the equipment to do it. If you move this thing, if you have one of these Bridgeports and you moved it, you have an idea of how heavy it is. So use common sense when doing it. And if you can rent a forklift or a tractor or something to help pick it up in the air, great. Don't put your fingers between the base of that machine or anywhere of that machine and the earth or any point that's going to get pitched, because you always want to plan that whatever you're using to lift this thing with is going to fail on you. And you're always planning for that failure So if it ever does happen, you're not in the position that where you're going to be vulnerable, that you're going to get hurt by it. So that's my safety disclosure. Use common sense, hire professionals. This is just what I found for what worked for me, and it's just a video for entertainment purposes only, and I'm just some hobbyist machinist. I don't claim to be an expert. So consult the experts. All right, let's go over here. We're gonna take a look at the leveling kit and what we're gonna use to move this machine. Okay, here are the leveling feet. You can get these kits commercially made. They sell them on like eBay, and there's some machine distribution parts companies that make these. And what this is a 3/4 inch thick by 2 inch thick piece of hot rolled steel. And I've drilled 4 holes in it. So the 2 on the outside are at 26 inches, and the ones on the inside here are just shy of 20 inches. The reason that I didn't do them right at 20 is because when I measured the holes on my Bridgeport, they were slightly in. I think they came in at like 19 and 7/8. So, they're inset a little bit. If you look at the commercially available kits, the holes for the mounting bolts here are all at 20 inches. These leveling feet, I bought these used. These are for leveling big CNC milling machines. You can make your own feet if you'd like, where you just take a bolt and weld it to a plate, or you can buy these. I have homemade ones on the lathe. They work just fine. These ones seem to work just fine for the mill. So that's a setup. It's pretty simple. As far as height, right now this is sitting at about 3 inches off the ground. It'll be a little bit less when I sink these down because these are lifted up already. So those are the feet. Now to get the machine up in the air, you get a toe jack. What a toe jack is what it sounds like. It is a jack that when its piston comes up, this little toe here will come up where everything else stays at the bottom here, and it is used to get on a big piece of machinery and lift it. However, that Bridgeport there, you can't just get under it with the size of this toe jack. You need something else to get in there. So that's where this pry bar comes in. So I built this out of some just steel laying around. This is actually the big thick part here. This is the same steel as this. I bought a couple lengths of this and cut this up, put an angle in here, welded an axle, put some bearings on there, and then threw it in the mill, milled it down, and then put grooves in there for it to basically be like teeth to catch on it. And this is what I use to get under a big piece of equipment to lift them up. So I use this to lift up, and then I can get this toe jack under there, and then I use a toe jack primarily for lifting. Could I lift this thing up and do this whole operation with just this pry bar? Yes. Is this safer? Yes. So remember, you only have your 2 sets of hands. Don't get them crushed. Don't get yourself hurt or killed over moving a piece of equipment. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed. All right, we're set up here. Got my tools laid out where I want them, and we're gonna set ourselves up for success. I don't have a whole bunch of tripping hazards. I have everything cleaned up around this area, and something we can do that's a real easy to do thing before we lift it is lowering the weight. So I just drop this down and bring the center of gravity down. So right there, that was an easy way just to bring the center of gravity down in this machine so it's less likely to tip on me. So what I'm planning on doing is getting under here, trying to get a good bite, lift it up with a toe jack here, and get this toe jack kicked in here. So I may have gone down a little bit too far though with that handle in the way, but we'll see. to get us started, I'm going to take a small crowbar and just lift it up enough here to get this piece of plate steel in here. Maybe. I'm going to make a liar out of myself currently. So now I can get a good bite in there. This. Right in there. So during that whole process there, I never put my foot anywhere underneath the machine. The best practice to sit there and kick stuff in and out where it needs to go. You know, probably not a forklift would be safer, but I'm doing this operation with the equipment that I have on hand, so I'm trying to do it as safely as I can. Okay, let's talk about lifting this thing and what we just saw and center of gravity and everything. So right now I'm tipping it back, keeping the weight here low. Most of your weight is kind of centered this way. Yes, this is a, you know, I wouldn't want to go much further back than this. If it goes back much further, it's going to hit the wall. But I now have it up enough that I can slide those feet underneath and bolt them in. So I've cribbed also underneath there, so I put 4x4 piece of wood underneath of it. So when this jack fails, it's not going to go anywhere. It will probably drop a couple inches that it crushes the wood, but it's hopefully keep me safe. So when I drop this down, I have the two pieces of 2x4s on equal sides of it pushed all the way back. So when it comes down, it'll rock that back end up. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me just to go in the very back with that toe jack and just slide it in there. That way I don't have to use that pry bar like you saw me trying to get into the front. I can just slide this in the back and start jacking it up. So here we are over at the jack, and I'll show you. I don't have a ton of room back here. Luckily that handle swivels so I can get to it. I just realized I'd have a little bit of a struggle trying to get to the valve to let the pressure off of it. So it would be a little bit better if this was further out from the wall, but since I don't have a forklift or anything that I can move it easily with, trying to make do with what I can. I'm always trying to move or put the jack so any movements up and down I'm doing are in line with the machine. So what I mean by that is I want that jack in the very middle of this machine when it's lifting up and down. So if I have it off to one side, you could tip it to the side. And that's the last thing you want to do with these Bridgeports because they are side to side, not as stable as they are front to back. So I'll readjust there and we will see if we can do the lift. Right now, just nice, easy, controlled down. Just barely take the pressure off that jack right there, and so it's slowly letting it down. You don't want to drop these things. You don't want to be doing any violent movements with them because you can break this cast iron. Okay, we have on our feet now. So as you can see, that's I would consider that a high risk, low frequency operation. We don't move heavy machinery like this every day unless you're a rigger or you do it professionally. And it is high risk because if this thing tips, it could crush and kill me or hurt me really bad. So remember, this is an entertainment video. This is not a how-to video. This is just, it worked for me, and maybe it'll give you some ideas. But if you're going to move something like this, use proper safety technique and watch some videos from people who know what they're doing. That's not me. That's not this video. Watch actual proper rigging and lifting videos. So now that we have the feet on here, the next step is to actually level it, because I bet it's not too bad, but it's still not perfectly level. So what leveling means is I'm going to get my machinist level, set it on here, try to calibrate it, and then I'm going to try to get this thing leveled in using these feet. You screw them down and they lift up, you unscrew them and they drop down. And it's just a pretty straightforward process. I'll get the level out and we'll go over that. Okay, we're all leveled up. Everything's done here. I've retightened the bolts that go on the leveling feet, and so we're going to call this project done. As far as, I know I lowered the knee down. I don't have a way to get it right back to the exact point that we had at the beginning of the video where you saw me bent over, but this is pretty close. And having it up 3 inches, this is usually where I keep the vise within about a hand's width from the collet. It's just a lot more comfortable now. I'm not bent over as much, and just keeps things more ergonomic for me. Controls up here, they're perfectly easy to grab. They're right at kind of eye level for me. Again, I'm 5'6". As far as it going to like changing out the collets, I can still hit the brake and get my wrench up there on the drawbar, no problem. I can still change my belt speeds here. I don't really do that often, but I can still reach all the things I need, even if I'm 3 inches higher now. I made some parts on it with it being leveled like this, and I can say ergonomically it is way more comfortable having it up higher. As far as accuracy, I don't notice a difference, I'm gonna be honest. If I was making things within a thousandth of an inch, and for like the aerospace industry where you have to be super precise, I might notice it, but I'm a home hobbyist, and a lot of the stuff I make, I have a lot of deviation of tolerances, or I have loose tolerances in the stuff I make because I'm learning. So I'm not making super precise parts. So I can't tell you that leveling it, it's for the home hobbyist, you're not gonna probably notice a difference in the accuracy of the part that you're making. But for comfortability and good ergonomics, you do notice it. So I consider that worth it in this case. Again, yeah, this is a pretty straightforward project to do. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. It's pretty easy to make too. As far as building leveling feet, a piece of metal with some ready rod going through it, it'll work just fine. That's what I did with my lathe. So luckily I had these industrial feet here that I was able to use, but regular metal and ready rod will do just fine. So hopefully you guys got something out of this video here. And if you did, please hit the subscribe button. I try to put out videos, somewhat regularly. I don't have a set schedule. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great day.